What do we do with this news, if anything, that we got about the vaccine?
I think if anyone's expectation was that the rollout of vaccines that had been formulated, tested, and approved on an emergency basis all inside of 11 months, if anyone thought that process would be a linear path to nirvana, their expectations were probably way too high. I think most market participants have not gone into this moment expecting things to go perfectly, and every one of these bumps along the way, and we've had more than just this one, have represented buying opportunities. That is why you're seeing record highs for stocks. That's also why you're seeing I think, a move to quality within the indices. Even in tech, you look at the NDX, right? You look at the NASDAQ at new highs, and yet the ARC ETF in a 22% drawdown. I think that tells you that investors are being more selective and looking for less experimental companies and prioritizing technology and cutting-edge businesses that are, if not cash flow positive, at least very close. So that is a change. The NASDAQ 100's at new highs. The NASDAQ equal weight is not. Again, prioritizing larger, stronger companies with better financials and not just going gaga over innovation. So I think that's where we are right now. 96% of the S&P above the 200-day. It's obviously a Goldilocks moment. You look at companies like Square. This was in a 30% drawdown, now back to all-time highs. It's really, really hard to be losing money right now. And I think the big danger is any time in the past where things have gotten this easy and this good for virtually every stock, that's led to a moment where we pause.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a correction, but like that's what I would say to people is don't get carried away right at this moment. Volatility typically follows moments like this.
Steph, the market is largely looking through the J&J news today. Yes, the Dow's down 100 points, but it's largely some of the reopening-related stocks that are lower. Morgan Stanley today says we don't expect the overall vaccination effort or timeline to be materially impacted by the news. Jim Cramer calls it a speed bump. Dr. Gottlieb this morning says it doesn't change the end point, which is that as we get into May, we're going to have a lot of vaccines available. Perhaps that's the exact reason why the market is able to do what it does today, despite what we're seeing out of the Dow, which, as I said, was somewhat modest.
Yeah, my thought is about the reopen stocks and owning cyclicals does not change because of J&J. It's unfortunate, of course. Maybe we see a pause in the reopen names. We're seeing that a little bit today, but we've been seeing that, Scott, all of April. Since we started the second quarter, we have seen a rotation back to growth from value and less cyclicals. And that's just mean reversion because the first quarter value trumped growth. The biggest change, or no change rather, is that there's no change in liquidity. And that is the thing that has really been driving the markets higher, in addition to getting vaccines and to partially reopening. But the liquidity was the foundation. And we still haven't even spent $3 trillion in the last two plans. And you're going to get another $1 to $2 trillion in infrastructure. And oh, by the way, then there's talk about another one after that. And in addition, the Fed told you a couple of times over the weekend, last week, they're not doing anything, pedal to the metal there. And the CPI number today gives them a little bit of room. We are seeing an inch up in inflation, but certainly not run away. So they're going to continue to be very accommodative. Those two things are really very big. In the meantime, we don't have a lot of information about J&J. We don't know if it's days or weeks, but we do have Pfizer producing 2 billion doses this year, and we have Moderna at 780 million. And oh, by the way, we also have 37% of the people in the U.S. being already vaccinated at least once. So we have made progress. We're not at ground zero. So unfortunate news today. I would not be surprised to see the reopen names take a pause. They have been. I actually like that because that sets the expectations low into earnings. But by no means am I selling those names. In fact, if anything, I'm actually adding on weakness.